Okay, squids. I had the idea to record this on the way home on the train, and so I'm being instinctive and perhaps impulsive and recording this. I could script this out and be a bit more thorough and not leave any gaps, but on the other hand, I suppose this is more spontaneous and gives you a better sense of what I'm like. So, this is a letter to my children. I don't expect anything to happen to me, but you never know. As I've told you before, I intend to live to 120 years old, but things happen, and I don't know. So the main thing I'm doing is that I've got yearly video recordings for the last few years of you guys saying your name and your birthday and all that stuff, but I don't have anything of me because in usual dad fashion, I'm behind the camera instead of in front of it. Although I have other YouTube videos of me. But I just want to tell you kids that I love you very much. You are incredibly important to me, and you're incredibly important to me, and I hope you always know that and you always remember that. And I want to make it perfectly clear that even if you screw up in life, somehow, I don't know how, I'll always love you. I might be a little disappointed in you, but I will always love you and always care about you and always want you to be happy. And hopefully you won't try to test my love for you by being intentionally bad or try to break my heart. But I will always love you. And even if you end up being gay or transsexual or something interesting like that, I will still love you. And I suppose the thing that I want most for you kids is that you live a long and happy life filled with, well, love and happiness, and that you find someone that loves you and cares about you and appreciates you for who you are, and that you find someone that you are excited to be with. You look forward to being with them every day, and you hate it when you're away from that person. And because we've raised you in a fairly huggy, cuddly, touchy household, that you end up with someone who is verbally affectionate as well as physically affectionate, and says nice things to you all the time and is complimentary to you all the time. What else? Oh, I was going to say something. See, dang it. I could have written this stuff down, but again, this is more natural, and hopefully the SD card on my camera here will allow me these strange lapses in thought. Okay, in no particular order. One thing, okay, so I'm 46 years old right now, and one of the things that's really great about being in your 40s is that you have a pretty good sense of who you are and what you're interested in and what you're not interested in. So if someone says, hey, I got tickets to the ball game, you want to come? You can say, no, I don't want to come. Thank you for asking, but I don't want to come, because you know what you'd rather spend your time doing. And so by the time you're in your 40s, you've hopefully done enough stuff that you will have stumbled across things that you enjoy doing. And so for me, for example, if I didn't have you guys to look after, if I was single, didn't have to work for a living, and just had all this time, I spent all my time learning musical instruments, recording, doing woodworking, doing martial arts, a bit of exercising, reading, listening to music, watching movies, but not traveling. Oh, gardening, bit of gardening and yard work too, and building interesting things in the backyard. But I know what I want to spend my time with, and what I don't want to spend my time on, and that's just how it is. Oh, going to plays. I should go to more plays. Again, this is fairly non-linear, but something I was thinking about a half hour ago is some words of advice or words of wisdom is don't make fun of things about people that they can't change. So don't make fun of physical characteristics like redhead or a slightly bent nose or funny ears or whatever. Don't make fun of people's names. don't make fun of people's clothes. What taught me that is back when I was in university and your Uncle Bryce, my younger brother Bryce, was I was washing the car with him or something, and he had a pair of, I think, fairly baggy orange pants. Maybe they're yellow pants. And I made fun, well, I didn't intentionally make fun of them, but I was trying to be witty. And so I called them clown pants. And, oh, hey, those look like clown pants, ha, ha, ha. And he didn't say anything. Maybe he laughed politely. But after he left to go do something, my dad said, you know, your brother made those pants in sewing class. And I went, oh. And then over the course of that summer, because I was home from college, I noticed that he stopped wearing those pants because I'd made fun of them. And so after a month or two, I told him, hey, you know, you should wear those pants again. I really like those pants. And he kind of went, oh. So, yeah, don't make fun of things that people... Basically, don't make fun of people. You can make fun of yourself in a self-depreciating way, but don't make fun of other people because you might hurt someone's feelings even if they don't show it. Another thing which I read somewhere is it is better to be kind than to be right. So in other words, there's no point in getting into arguments or browbeating someone just to show that you're right and they're wrong. Sometimes it's better just to let things go. Avoid marrying someone who, when you're still in the dating phase, there's a huge long list of reasons why you shouldn't be together. You know, a way that, you know, you're strongly religious, the other person's atheist, you're a non-drinker, they're a heavy drinker, all these things. If there's a huge list of those things, even if you get along with them really well, that's going to come up later. Conversely, though, I would say, and your mom would agree, the main thing I think she'd agree, the main thing is that you can converse easily and freely with someone. So if you get along with them, time just passes, and you just have really good verbal rapport, then that's a good sign. That's a good sign. If you're dating someone and your friends or family don't like them, that's a big warning sign, because presumably you would have friends that have values and interests similar to yourself, and so if you're with someone and they just can't get along with your partner, well, what is it that they're seeing that you're not? Listen to your friends. Oh, I had another thing and now I can't think of it. Don't remember. In the filing cabinet, I've got a bunch of my old journal entries where most of them were either in a spiral notebook or written down just on paper, but they're under J for journal. And so nowadays, or in fact for the last 10 or 15 years, I've written them on the computer, which also they're in a folder called journal stuff on the computer on the backup hard drive. But in the filing cabinets, if you want to see what was going on in my head when I was in college and the years after college, it's there. So that might be of interest to you. I had all these great things. Tell your kids you love them a lot. Oh, that's what I think you should do, is tell your kids a lot that you love them. It's really good that the kids have a strong male and female role model, even if you accidentally get someone pregnant, which I encourage you to not. You need to stay in their life. Once you've created a kid, that's basically your number one responsibility, is to make sure that kid is okay and you stick by that kid, okay? That's really important. Here's another thing I was thinking of, is that all you kids are wonderful. I love all of you equally, but I also love all of you differently, because you're individuals and you have different characteristics, and you're all special and wonderful. I'm all proud of you, and I look forward to seeing how you all grow and develop and turn into adults. Vicky, I love your humor, and all of you have a marvelous willingness to laugh, and all of you have a very ready smile, and I think that's wonderful. If you look around, if you walk around downtown, I notice this every day when I walk to work and walk from work between the train station and my office building is very few people smile. And on the bus and the train too, very few people smile. And I actually keep track of whenever I see a person smiling, not because they're texting and they're happy about what they're texting, but they're just walking down the street smiling. And I refer to them as smilers. And I'll see one every day or so. And of course, because I am the way I am, I actually make a note to myself in my phone book, my cell phone, as far as the approximate age and the race and sex of the person. Yeah, and I call them smilers. Slightly more females than males, but whatever. But yeah, so Vicky, you're a wonderful kid. I love your creativity and your artistic sensibility, and you also have a very keen insight into individual people and human nature, and I hope you never lose that. Eddie, I predict that you're going to be some sort of businessman, and currently you seem to enjoy food, and I hope that you explore that as a hobby, maybe not as a profession, but certainly as a hobby. And I hope that you moderate your food intake, because you have a sweet tooth, so everything in moderation. I don't want you to become overweight and experience health problems. But as long as you enjoy food and good food, and you spend your daily calories or kilojoules wisely. So you can't eat everything, but if you have a certain number of kilojoules a day that you could eat, I hope you use it on food that you enjoy and not boring or cheap, crummy, unhealthy food. Hopefully that makes sense. But Eddie, your ability to find money on the sidewalk and on the floor at shopping centers, and your ability to just come up with great insights and great turns of phrase are delightful. And I could certainly see you being a restaurateur, some sort of entrepreneur, a writer. And I know Vicky wants to be a writer, but and I think she'll do well if that's what she pursues. But Eddie, I will say you have a good turn of phrase. Nicholas, you have a wonderful mathematical and analytical mind. All you kids are good at math, but Nicholas seems especially interested in it. I don't know whether he'll become a computer programmer or a physicist or a mathematician or an engineer or what. And also, I hope that Nicholas, all of you, pursue your musical interests, your musical abilities, if that interests you. If music isn't inherently interesting to you, then spend your time as much as you can doing what interests you. That's what life is about. Is one of my middle-aged wisdom things is, without neglecting your duties and responsibilities, try to spend as much of your time as you can doing things you enjoy, and try to minimize the amount of time you spend doing things that you don't enjoy. And doing it with people you enjoy to be with, and not with people that bother or annoy you, or make you depressed, or make you a worse person. Try to spend time with people that make you a better person, a more positive person. I hope all you kids are kind to people. Different people view money in different ways. I think that money is a tool or something you use to make other people's lives better and to make people happier. So I somewhat often buy food and bring it into work just because I know it makes my coworkers happy, and I put it on the break table and people just eat it. And I've tried to be kind of anonymous about it because I don't want to be show-offy. And I give money to homeless people sometimes, and just things like that. I mean, it's good to be nice to people. It's good to help people. It's a way of being a hero in a very small way. I hope that you guys always get along. One of the great things about having siblings is that I don't think this is my own idea. I think I heard it somewhere. One of the great things about having siblings is that as you get older, no one else in the world will understand just how crazy and how wacky your parents are, except your brothers and sisters. Because even your husband, your wife, your partner, your spouse, whomever, they've only known your family, this long. But your brothers and sisters, the people you grew up with, have known you your entire life. They've known your parents since the get-go, and they go like, you know how when mom does such and such? Oh yeah. You know when dad does that thing? Oh yeah. Can you believe it? And they just know your background. They know where you came from, and that's something to treasure. And so even if you have arguments or disagreements as adults, I hope you always stay friends and you never lose touch with each other. I hope you guys always live in state or even in town. I hope you guys don't move away, because family is very important, and I know that it's very important for your mom and I to have you in town, and plus you won't get free babysitting if you live in another state. You know, you gotta, if you want to minimize the amount of time that your kids, if you have kids, are in daycare, you got to live in town. Whilst we're working, I don't know that we can look after your kids that much, but you know, once we're retired, you know, sure we'll look after the kids. We have a moment of dead air here while I think about stuff. If I was really conscientious, I would edit this down and edit out the pauses and maybe reorder it. But I'm not going to do that because, amongst other things, that would be something else I need to get around to, and I want to actually just stick this on YouTube. I'll have it be public because I don't mind if people find out about it, and yeah, we'll see. But I guess the main thing is just that you have some sort of written, well, not written, video and audio documentation of two things. One is what I look like and sound like, although I've got some of that already on YouTube. But the other thing is just that you guys know how much I love you and care about you and how much you mean to me. And you guys do not appreciate how much I love you, and it's possible that you won't for many years. I think when you're grown-ups, I think you'll look back and you'll go, ah, yes. At the moment, I think you take it for granted, and that's okay. I think it's really important that you take it for granted that your parents love you and care about you and will support you. It makes me feel sad, and I used to mention this to Vicky until she pointed out to me that it upsets her a little bit, and so I stopped pointing it out to her. But it makes me feel sad that there are kids out there that doubt that their parents love them, or that have parents that are mean to them or cruel to them. I think that's one of the worst things in the world, is to have parents that aren't being good parents. I think that, I think, you know, quite obviously that screws you up for life on at least some level. Oh, there must be other things. Okay, how about this? When you're choosing a partner, it's not crucial, to my mind, that they have exactly the same hobbies as you, but it's a bonus. So, for example, a friend of mine at work, he and his wife both do bike riding, and he's like way into bikes and not quite obsessive about bike riding, but he really enjoys it. His wife mostly enjoys it, but a lot of weekends they'll go off and just go on these bike rides, and I think that's really neat. So sure, it works if one person's really into baseball, really into footy or something, and wants to watch all the time, and the other one isn't. But it becomes problematic if one person is really into hiking and camping and canoeing and outdoorsy stuff, and the other person is really into gardening or really into reading or watching movies and DVDs, and there's just no overlap. That's problematic. I think having a partner where you can do a lot of things together is important. Or even if they're complementary things, like if one person is into filmmaking and shooting video and the other one's a songwriter, okay, you can collaborate and you can shoot music videos. So something where it overlaps, I think that would work. Or one person's into making wooden things for the garden and the other person's into gardening. Okay, that works. So one person can make little trellises and stuff to support the gardening. So that works. But, yeah, I think that's the end of that thought. I hope that you are all successful. This is another thing I thought of when I was considering video recording this. I hope that all of you are successful, and by successful I don't mean making tons of money. I know that some people, the main thing they enjoy from the job is the fact that it earns lots of money, even if they're doing something that's intrinsically boring to them. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine. With a lot of those people, my impression though is if you work 80 hours a week making $1 zillion, you never really get a chance to enjoy the expensive stuff you bought with your money. And I guess you could work really hard, earn zillions of dollars, then retire when you're 45, and that's one way of doing it. But if you have a horrible, stress-filled 25-year working life before you retire, that's not so great either. So I hope that you do something that is at least semi-enjoyable or moderately enjoyable, and that you earn enough money to pay the bills. And because you spend a lot of time at work, so you want to do something that's not boring or tedious or wretched. Although, if you have something that is kind of mediocre, but it gives you time to work evenings and weekends on whatever you really enjoy doing, but you don't want to have to earn a living off it, that's okay too. Another thing which I've told people before, another old guy piece of wisdom, is that there's a danger in taking your hobby and turning it into your occupation. If you're way, way, way obsessed over it, where you're spending 60 hours a week and you're basically doing whatever your thing is and eating and sleeping and maybe seeing some friends, but that's about it, okay, then maybe you won't get sick of it. But two things. One is that when you're doing something as a hobby, you can do the interesting bits. Three things. One is when you're doing it as a hobby, you can do the interesting bits and ignore the boring bits. Whereas if you're doing it as a job, there will be paperwork and marketing or other things and record keeping where you have to do it because it's a business, and that will take away time from doing the aspects that you enjoy. Another is that a lot of things that you'll do for a living, you need certification. So for example, if I wanted to go work for a recording studio, I'd have to get some sort of degree or certification in recording technology, whereas if I'm just recording my own stuff, I don't have to get the certification. I just teach myself and do what I need to do, and if there's kind of areas of recording, the recording process that I don't have a full understanding of, that's okay, because I'm not dealing with clients or have to be completely versatile to the extent that a recording professional would have to do. I just need to know enough to record the sort of stuff I do, and that's okay. So again, one is when you turn it into a business, you have to... One is when you turn it business, there's the boring bits. Two is that when you do it for a living, you often have to get certification. Three is that you become market-driven. And so if I was a professional songwriter or professional building a garden hut or things like that, you can't just do what's interesting to you. You have to do what will sell and what your client wants. And so, so like if I was a songwriter, I'd have to try to always make things that were catchy and I think would sell 1 million records, instead of saying, hey, this is quirky and interesting to me, and if I record 12 songs worth of music and no one else likes it, that's okay, because mostly I'm doing it for my own amusement. Whereas if, again, that's your job and you have a few albums that don't go anywhere, that is bad. You end up having to go back to uni to get certification for something else, or you need to go start selling real estate. But, if you have to do it for a living, then you have to do it in a way that actually people actually pay you money for. And the fourth thing, danger of taking your hobby and turning it into occupation, is that then you have basically killed your hobby as far as being a refuge from work. And so an example is a former coworker of mine. Her husband used to mess around with cars when he was a kid, and just was spending all his time messing around with cars. And so he opened up a car repair shop, a mechanic shop. And what happened is he ended up getting sick of working on cars, and so he couldn't work on cars on the weekend as a hobby because he works on cars during the week, and so that killed his hobby. Apparently, once his business became successful enough, they had a bunch of mechanics working for him, and he's doing more of the manager, owner, paperwork type stuff, and not so much the direct messing with the cars. Then he started to miss it, and then he started to work on his own cars and putter around with restoring old cars on the weekends because he was no longer doing it at work. So it depends. If you've got something that you're totally obsessed about and you'd be happy doing it for 6 hours a week and you don't mind the fact you have to do paperwork and possibly get certification in it, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. But, so my job, which is analyzing data, on the one hand, I would analyze data for the fun of it, and I do sometimes. But to be honest, if I won the big lottery where I can quit work, and as I said, I had this epiphany this last Easter. I used to say, oh, even if I won the lottery, I'd keep working at least half-time, blah, blah. But now I'm thinking, between hanging out with you kids and mommy and doing stuff around the house, tidying the house up, doing housework, backyard stuff, woodworking, songwriting, musical instruments, martial arts classes, I got more than enough stuff to occupy my time for the next 40 years. I mean, I would never run out of songs to write, hopefully. Wouldn't run out of woodworking projects, things to build in wood, martial arts styles to dabble around with and eventually choose one or two and get really good at them, weightlifting. Those are endless pursuits, so I don't need to work for a living just to fill up my time. So that's my new thing. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I've covered a little bit of... here's what I thought of. Well, I came up with about a month ago, and then a variation of it tonight. And that is, when you guys come up to me and say, "Hey, Dad, I want to show you something," or "Hey, Dad, can you, sit on my bed and hold my hand while I fall asleep?" I need to do that. If my child wants me to spend time with him or her, I need to do that, partly because it's important for the child, but partly because if I say no when you're young, when you're teenagers or adults, I will have trained you out of wanting to spend time with me. So, whereas in fact I want to encourage you to spend time with me. And so I need to do that. And hopefully that will keep you guys out of trouble when you're teenagers, the fact that we have a good bond. And the extension of that, which I thought of just about an hour ago, was that if you have really little kids and they say, Daddy, look at this, as a parent, don't say, oh, just a minute. I reckon you got maybe, if it's a really little kid, like a 30-second or a 60-second window before the kid gets bored and goes out and does something else. So if a kid wants to show you something, I mean, just really quickly wrap up what you're doing, but allow yourself enough time to dry your hands, for example, if you're washing the dishes or finish wiping this one dish. But don't put off the kid because you need to finish doing all the dishes. It's like no. Wrap it up. Go see what the kid wants. Okay, the kid is the most important thing in your life. Well, I mean, you got to earn a living and stuff too, but you know what I mean. So, if you have kids, they're very important. Choose partners wisely. If you're gay, that's fine. You guys are swell. Occupation. Being nice to other people. Oh, stay safe. Try not to do stupid things and, hey, look at this. Don't try to show off other people. They won't be nearly as impressed as you want them to be. You'll probably end up hurting yourself. There's a possibility that you'll permanently hurt yourself or disfigure yourself, like my shoulder thing. Related to that, if you're doing risky things, don't go out late at night. Dark alleys. If there is some big violent riot going on, get the heck away because you don't know when the riot will shift or come in and engulf you. Just stay away from any sort of violence or scary stuff. I had something else I was going to say too that I just thought of. Violence. Learn. I want you to take a first aid class and also take at least a basic self-defense class like Krav Maga, not necessarily a traditional martial art, but something where they teach you really on how to block and how to defend against a knife attack. So I want all you guys to be able to at least do some basic ability to block, okay? Really important. Hopefully you'll never have to use it. But, yeah. I want you guys to all have at least a very basic toolkit. So whether you have an apartment or your house, you know, hammer, pliers, flat blade screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, some WD-40, some duct tape, some electrician's tape, wire strippers possibly, a few things. But I want you guys to have a toolbox with tools. I want you to know how to use them. I want you guys to know at least the basics of how to make useful things out of wood. So if you have a small house or small apartment and you need to build a very small shelf for the wall or bookshelf, I want you guys to be able to make one that's solid and looks halfway decent. Okay, you don't have to be expert woodworkers, but at least something functional. That might be it. I mean, I'm sure there's more. But, when you get to my blog, and you should know what the blog name is, if you don't, other people in the family do, and my old roommate from Oregon does. You could ask him. I've got the tag wisdom. That's halfway meant towards you guys. So, and I do hope that you'll look at my blog, because it's kind of a chronicle of my life. I've had it going for about 15 years now, which is pretty good. Most people don't have their blogs going for quite that long. I think that's it. I know I said I love you, but it's still true. I still love you. Yeah, it's probably good. Yeah. Anyhow, so yeah. And by the way, this is what I look like in my mid-40s. And I think I'm in a sound mind and all that good stuff. And, yeah, I think you guys are great, and I value you, and I love you, and just putting it here so that when you guys are, what, 70 and I'm 100? 90? How old am I? I don't know, 110 something, and old and possibly enfeebled, but hopefully still of, actually hopefully not that enfeebled, hopefully of strong mind and positive spirits and stuff. You know, you can look at this and say, man, Dad sure looked young. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably good. And I can always do another video posting later. Okay.